Hi, and welcome to our program, Local Look, your local town news program for Concord, Massachusetts. I'm your host, Karlen Reed, and today I'm really thrilled to have not just one, but three special guests. They're from the League of Women Voters of Concord, Carlisle, and they're here to talk to us about what the League's been up to. They are Stephen Bader, Nancy Confrey, and Linda Ziffrin. Folks, I'm really glad that you're here. Stephen, and let's start off with a couple of easy things. Let's have you talk about yourselves. Stephen, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, what brought you to Concord, and your role within the League?
Certainly. Happy to do that. My wife is what brought me to Concord, or who brought me to Concord. She grew up here since 5th grade, and after living in Acton for 5 years and Charlestown for 5 years, eventually we settled in Concord by buying her parents' house from her. So that's how we snuck into Concord. We've been here I've been here over 35 years at this point. And I retired early a number of years ago and found myself with more time on my hands and interest in doing civic type engagement. And so that's what drew me to the League. And I'll tell my quick story of League-type involvement. When I was in probably elementary school, I remember my mother was active in the PTA, and I helped by sticking the stamps on the envelopes that the PTA was mailing out. So that was my earliest civic involvement, but it's been at various levels since then. So I've been in the League, I guess, for about 4 years, I would say. And started out, I was interested in a program that they were running, and I said, I'll stick my head in here and see what they're talking about, and one thing led to another, and now I'm on the board.
And you're on the board?
Yeah.
Okay. And what part of the work do you do on the board?
My title, my official designation is events chair, but I seem to get my fingers in a whole lot of other pies as well.
Okay, sounds good. Nancy, what about you?
Hi, Karlen. Thanks for having us.
Sure.
We came originally to Concord 20 years ago for the school system, and we raised 2 boys here from kindergarten through high school, and fabulous school system. And I am, my other part of my job is I'm an entrepreneur in medical devices. And I came to the League because I'm also a citizen, and I really care about voting and the information required to vote and getting as many people to the polls as possible. And so I am on the board of League of Women Voters and also the chair of the Voter Service Committee.
Very good. Thank you very much, Nancy. Linda, it's your turn. What about you, Linda?
Well, I came to Concord in, well over 20 years ago. And also the school systems, and raised our children here as well through the school systems, and also just fell in love with Concord. I grew up in the Midwest, so it was like, whoa, there's history here, and kind people, so it was very nice. My background, I've been in corporate America, I've been in technology startups, we have our own business, and I've always been active politically from a social justice standpoint and with campaigns, and found myself drawn to the League back in 2016, and joined the Concord Carlisle League and signed up as an envoy, which just fit me perfectly because the League of Women Voters of Massachusetts takes on key issues and legislative bills, and then looks for folks to advocate and talk to their state representatives and state senators and beyond on these issues. And I went, oh, this is great. And so I found myself going down to the State House. I think I met you down there a couple times too, for various issues to advocate for that were League issues, and have since joined the board with membership and advocacy.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Okay, I have a couple questions for you. What do you think is the role of the league for Concord and Carlisle? Who wants to take that first?
I can start.
Okay.
Because voter service, key to the league is informing voters, not just where and when to vote, but also what they're voting about. And so we do things like we try to get out the vote. You'll see signs through town. And by the way, these two are absolutely key to making all of this happen. We do candidate forums, so anytime we have a contested election in Concord, we try to get them in front of cameras to tell us all about what they think, so people know what they're voting for, and we play a role in town meeting as well, and try to get people aware of what the issues are and what the pros and cons are for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think to expand on the town meeting topic, town meeting unfortunately doesn't draw that many voters. And it goes on for days, and it takes time to understand what's going on. I see the league's role as critical in distilling the information and offering recommendations to the folks who may not have the time and energy to devote to studying, 60 different warrant articles. There's a lot in there, and I think the league's leadership in the town meeting recommendations is an essential and somewhat unique to maybe not all Massachusetts leagues, but it's definitely one of our strongest interest areas here in Concord, Carlisle.
Okay. Anything to add?
Yeah, well, this year I think was maybe one of the first years that we did a get out the vote to get people to help get the information out about town meeting and get them to it. So it's educate, inform, and expand democracy as we can.
Sounds good. All right, so that's the roles. Now, what's coming up and for the league in town in Concord and Carlisle? What's coming up in the future? Who wants to start?
So much going on.
Where do we
busy.
start?
We're busy.
There's a lot going on, even in the height of the summer. There's even a lot going on. One of the things that many league members do is watch as observers different town committees and boards as they conduct their regular meetings, monthly, weekly, whatever the case may be. In the last couple of days, it's come to light that there's potentially changes in the Nagog water treatment plant on the docket that no one would have predicted or heard about 2 months ago. There may be a special town meeting in the fall to deal with financing for that project. Yesterday, it came out that there's going to be more ARPA money available for housing and other issues, in particular the Junction Village project. How will that shake out? These are not summer doldrums for the league and for local politics this year anyway.
Yeah, sounds good. What else is coming up?
I wrote a few things down.
Well,
She takes notes. Yes, of course.
Let's see. Our DEI, which is diversity, education, and
Equity.
Sorry, thank you. Because I'm talking about education, diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is why we're a great team. They are collaborating with the Concord Carlisle Adult and Community Ed to run a 4-part program this fall on looking at our community in Concord Carlisle through a DEI lens, past, present, and future. So looking at the history, the education, there's the education, land use, and what's next. We've got some terrific, well-respected authors and historians and speakers, experts that will be joining each of the sessions to lead it, and it will be, hopefully, it'll be a very exciting and good opportunity for reflection and education and moving forward.
And did I hear that it's going to be held here at the high school?
Yes.
Okay,
It
cool.
is. It will be, 3 of the 4 events will be here at the high school.
Okay.
So more to come.
and I think it's worthwhile pointing out that DEI is a lens through which both our state and national leagues have said is one of their high priority strategic items. And so everything we do should have that lens on it. So this is, and Concord is way out ahead actually from other towns in actually doing something about it. The League of Women Voters was critical in setting up a DEI commission within our town. That's just getting off the ground, but we're really trying to push this understanding how our town stands in relation
So
to.
the town has a DEI
diversity.
commission and the league has a DEI committee. Are they working together on something? Is this-
We certainly are, and there are
Yep.
many more groups in town, and we're
Okay.
also working, and we're trying to collaborate among all of them.
Okay.
This is the other thing we do is
Right.
collaborate with other organizations in town.
Okay, back to your notebook. What else besides DEI?
In September, we are having an event with David Pepper, who is the author of Laboratories of Autocracy, and looking at state and local governments and transparency. And he comes from Ohio and has some really interesting perspectives. So it will be should be a really interesting event. He also has a kind of a toolkit on where do you go from here, and that's on the heels of.
And his book on his Ruth Ben-Ghiat
Right.
last year, where we talked about authoritarianism as
Right.
well. But we should also say that our book group is covering David Pepper's book
Right.
In the fall as well. So it's something that anybody in town can join in on.
And the library will have the books available. So
Wait, I think you mentioned collaboration, Nancy, and you're right, Linda. All of these events typically involve some collaboration with other organizations in town or other leagues throughout the state or nationally. So they're also available. Thank you to Minuteman Media Network for hosting our YouTube recordings of many of our events. You can probably find the link on Minuteman Media or from the league's website, lwvcc.org.
Okay. Find it.
candidate forum.
We do have
Candidate
a
forum.
Governor's Council candidate forum. Not many people know what the Governor's Council
Governor's
is.
Council. Oh.
But it is a set of people who review the decisions made by the governor, particularly pardons or commutations or judge appointments.
Yeah.
And we do have a contested race for District 3, which we are in. So that will be in August sometime, and that will be by Zoom. Again, to go to the website to find out exactly when that is.
So you're going to do a candidate forum by Zoom up for the governor's council?
Yes,
Well,
and
that
it
sounds
is
fun.
not just Concord, so this is a statewide. So all the leagues are getting together to
wow.
hold this candidate
Okay.
forum. So
Okay.
watch for when that will be.
Good, good.
We have civics education coming up this year, will be
Okay.
really exciting. This year, there was a showcase with middle school students doing their projects, and this year it should extend to high school and Carlisle, and got the teachers involved and the kids involved doing their projects. A really wonderful way of approaching civics education.
Good.
Based on a law that the League of Women Voters advocated for.
Okay, all right. What else do you have coming up? Anything else?
I was going to go back for a second,
Okay,
back
go
to the
back.
future, and talk about the candidate forum we just did
Right.
at the end of June for the 14th Middlesex District State Representative. We had 3 candidates on the Democratic primary on September 6th. Early voting starts in late August. We can vote early and often, no, not often, just early, and by absentee mail. The League is one of the organizations that's part of the coalition for widening access to voters, and recent legislation just passed by the state allows us to do that, or allows cities and towns to do that. So again, that's something we just did. We tend to show up at community events like the picnic in the park on the 4th of July, like Ag Day on the Mill Dam, September 10th this year. We were at the April environmental fair on the library lawn, so
That was cooler for
Cooler Concord, yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
That was a good event, too.
So we tend to pop up everywhere.
For voter registration and information and all sorts of
Gotcha.
benefits to the
Gotcha.
community.
Good. Well, that sounds like a lot, and you've only gotten through September. I hope you have a lot of people who help you do this sort of work. It's not just the three of you doing this effort.
We always welcome more.
That's right.
We can
L-
always use more people, right?
lwvcc.org and click on join. So please do join us. It's we welcome anyone and everyone to our fight to empower voters and defend democracy.
Got it. Okay.
And people choose, I just want to say, people choose whatever level of involvement is comfortable for them. And they may find that right now they're comfortable with getting our newsletters and just being a member, and they may find in a couple of years they've got time for something else, or some topic piques their interest, and now all of a sudden they want to really get in there, and they have the time and the flexibility in their schedule to do that.
Okay.
They're welcome.
That sounds great. Let's do a wrap-up because we're about done, but I want to give you each a chance for a 30 seconds last-minute shot. What would you like, how would you like to conclude this? Nancy, how about if you go first this time?
Let's see. I would encourage everybody to participate in the issues that we're facing in Concord and broader. And we are a obvious starting point for that, or a helpful starting point. But there is so much to do in this town, and we just welcome anybody to join us in all of these efforts.
Okay, Stefan, what about you?
I think by joining the league and becoming active, you can really get your finger on the pulse of what's going on at the local level in town, and equally, if not more important, you can have some influence in that, because you're getting in before the dough goes into the oven, before the outcome is baked in. You can add some ingredients,
So it's
lobby
not-
for removing some ingredients.
It's not
It
just
makes a
showing up to-
difference.
It's not just showing up at town meeting. This is
Right.
all the many steps up to that point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Linda, what about you?
As I sort of gave it. Oh, so we'll go back and go lwvcc.org, join. But when you do join, you not only get to be involved in all of these local marvelous activities, or just read about them depending on your level of interest, but the state and national as well, joining over 500,000 like-minded citizens who, again, want to defend democracy and empower voters to have information to move forward and include everyone.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you all very much for coming.
Thank you.
Stefan,
Thank you.
Nancy, Linda from the League of Women Voters, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Karlen.
Thanks for having us, Carl.
Yes.
Have a good afternoon. And now let's take a look at the news for Concord, Massachusetts, the local town government. I'll be covering 4 stories today. The first one is the Concord Select Board. The second one is early voting and vote by mail. The third is Zoom continues. And the fourth one is the Concord Trolley has arrived. Okay, now let's go look at what the Concord Select Board has been up to. That's chaired by Matt Johnson, and the clerk is Terry Ackerman. On June 27, the Select Board approved the town manager contract. So it's official. Carrie LaFleur is now our town manager as of July 1. The Select Board also heard a lengthy, detailed description by the head general contractor for 2229 Main Street. That's the Starmet EPA Superfund site. And here's a graphic of the site itself. During this discussion, the general contractor discussed the history of 2229 Main Street, its past remediation efforts to remove the contaminated soil and the materials, the study of the groundwater impacts, the property lien status, and future efforts regarding this property. All of this is designed to help the Select Board with their decision on whether to assume responsibility for this site and its development. Now, the Select Board has said that later this fall, they'll have a special meeting to address this particular matter. So stay tuned on that. The Select Board also approved language for the September 6, special town election ballot regarding the high school paving, and discussed some funding options for the ARPA funds that the town has received. Okay, that's it for the select board. Now let's go to the early voting. The early voting and vote by mail issues were heard by the Board of Registrars, the Concord Board of Registrars, on July 14. That board is chaired by Connie Benn, and the clerk is Kari Maitari. On July 14, they welcomed a new member, James Littlefield. He joins Anne Fortier and Connie Benn, and those three are the Board of Registrars. They oversee the Concord voter registration and the elections for the local, state, and national offices. They also conduct the town census. The board heard updates on recent changes to the election laws. Now, one of the changes is an application to vote by mail. This is an application that is now on the Secretary of State's website, and the Secretary of State is going to be, Secretary of the Commonwealth, is going to be sending an application for vote by mail to every household. This ballot, if you're going to be using this application to get your ballot, the application has to be returned to the clerk's office by August 29. The ballots themselves must be received by the clerk's office, not mailed by, but received by the clerk's office by September 6th. This is the primary, the state primary we're talking about. We also heard some information at the Board of Registrars about the early voting, that's early in-person voting, that's going to start August 27th. That's where you can go into the townhouse and actually cast your ballot on Saturday, August 27th, and almost every day after that except for Sundays, up until the September 6th primary, which is the main primary election date. The Board of Registrars reviewed the election calendar for September 6th, which will also have a double election. At least that's the way it's phrased as. It's not just the state primary ballot, but there'll also be a special town ballot for the high school paving. Now, I'm going to read to you what this ballot language says because it can be a little bit confusing. The ballot says, shall the town of Concord be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2.5, so-called, the amounts required to pay the town's allocable share of the bond issued by the Concord Carlisle Regional School District for improvements including the design and reconstruction of the high school access road? Question mark. The answers are yes or no. Now, that text does not include the dollar amount. And this refers back to the town meeting approval of this very same article. It was Article 22, where the town meeting overwhelmingly approved this particular ballot initiative. And that dollar amount was $853,665, which is the total amount representing both Concord's share plus Carlisle's share. But as part of the procedure, we have to approve it at a special town election. So that's what's going to be on the ballot. And you'll get a separate ballot for it. One that says for the primary, then one for the special town election. So you get two ballots. Okay, the special town election ballot will be for reconstructing the access road around the high school, installing lighting on the access road, and repairing the sidewalk and curbing. Okay, that's the update on the early voting by mail. Now, Zoom continues. News release by the Massachusetts Attorney General's Office, Division of Open Government on July 17 regarding the use of Zoom for town committee meetings. Quote, on July 16, 2022, Governor Baker signed into law an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations, which, among other things, extends the expiration of the provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31, 2023. Specifically, this extension allows public bodies to continue holding meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at the meeting location, and to provide adequate alternate access to remote meetings. The Act does not make any new changes to the open meeting law, other than extending the expiration date of the temporary provisions regarding remote meetings. Close quote. What this means is that we can still watch and participate in town committee meetings by Zoom until March 31, 2023. What this also means is that the towns are not required to have hybrid meetings. That's up to the individual town committees still here in Concord. So if you want to watch what's going on the town committee meetings, pay attention to what the agendas say. All right, that's the update on the Zoom. Now let's look at the Concord trolley. The Concord trolley is here, and I had the pleasure of actually riding it the other day. It was a lot of fun. Here's the quick update on it. This was discussed at the Economic Vitality Committee meeting, which was chaired by Jennifer Schuneman. It was also discussed at the July 12 Transportation Advisory Committee. This is a free hop-on, hop-off Concord trolley. It is running now through October 31st as a pilot program to see if this is a good form of transportation within Concord. It runs roughly 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day. And best of all, in the summertime especially, it's air conditioned. The trolley makes a 1-hour loop of Concord historic sites. It stops at the Thoreau Depot train station, Concord Visitor Center, Concord Museum and Emerson House, Merriam's Corner, the Wayside and Orchard House, the North Bridge, Old Manse, Robbins House, the Minuteman National Historical Park at the Visitor Center, and then back to the Concord Visitor Center. It also will stop at the West Concord train station at roughly 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. on weekdays, and 10 a.m., 12 noon, and 2 p.m. on weekends. The trolley is handicap accessible, and it's designed for tourists and residents. This is being funded with a $100,000 grant for this pilot program. They're gathering data on its usage. It's also designed as preparation for Concord's 250th celebration of the historic battles of Concord and Lexington. So if you have a chance, go try out the trolley. And did I mention that it's free and easy? It really is. Okay, that's for the trolley. And now, I guess that's about it for today. Let's do a wind-up. Well, we've looked at 4 major news stories today. And that's about all that we have time for right now on today's Local Look with Karlen Reed, your local town news program for Concord, Massachusetts. If you have any suggestions for news coverage, please contact your local TV station, Minuteman Media Network, at 978-369-5038. We'd like to hear your ideas. So please join us again when we look at another part of our town's inner workings. I'm Karlen Reed, your host. And for now, thank you. Goodbye.